T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and lift off.
Coach on Fire Radio.
Hello. Welcome to Conversations with Jessica. One more Wednesday. My name's Jessica Lockhart. I am a humanologist, and I am very, very excited and happy to have you listening to this radio show on humanology. Conversations with Jessica is a program, a show that will introduce humanology to you. And you might be asking yourself, so what is it? Humanology. What does that word mean? Well, humanology is a new discipline that helps us understand human beings. We have many disciplines that study and explain different aspects of human beings, like psychology, that studies the human mind, or sociology, that studies human societies, or anthropology, studying human cultures. But there's no discipline studying us, human beings, is there? Well, there is now. This is humanology, the discipline that works with and for human beings. Based both on academic and scientific knowledge and personal experience, humanology works on the basis of a human model that helps us understand human beings. Our program, our show, Conversations with Jessica, will explain all the different aspects of humanology show after show. We'll give you tools, tips, and knowledge and understanding. And we'll also include other sections. We will be presenting inspirational tips. We will have specific solutions to questions that our listeners are going to be posing us and sending us. We will have a lot of different things. But let's start. Let's start by explaining how humanology was born. My name is, as I said before, Jessica Lockhart. I invite you to send me your questions to my email address, info@jessicajlockhart.com. You can also check my website, www.jessicajlockhart.com, and you can also look for many videos on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/JessicaJLockhart. We are going to be talking about humanology, but all those other sources of information will supplement and complement everything we say on Conversations with Jessica here for you. Do send me your questions. Do send me all your comments. I will try and answer them in the coming editions of Conversations with Jessica. Today's program is not live because I'm going to be traveling for the next 2 weeks. I'll be in Mexico talking about humanology. But most of the shows will be live, and you'll be able to also chat with me through the chat service offered by Coach on Fire. But let's now talk about how humanology came to be. Humanology was born out of my own personal life experience and knowledge. Let me briefly tell you a little bit about myself. I used to be a simultaneous interpreter. Before that, I was an English teacher. But I suffered 2 car accidents, significant ones, that left me almost completely paralyzed. I could barely walk. And for 7 years, I was in constant acute pain until I couldn't walk anymore. And the doctors told me that I would end up in a wheelchair. I should have been in that wheelchair more than 12 years ago, but I'm still not in my wheelchair. I can still move. Some days I can't stand up. But many days I can. Some days I am in pain, but other days I'm not. So although I do have certain limitations, I keep an active life and do many things every day. But when I had to stop working as a simultaneous interpreter because I couldn't stand long enough to be able to interpret at conferences and conventions, I asked myself what to do with my life. Because of the car accidents and the pain and a few other personal stories in the background, I had gradually lost my optimism, my energy, my strength. A friend of mine asked me, "So Jessica, whatever happened to you? Where is that optimism that used to be your trademark?" And that's when I realized that it was gone. So I started studying optimism, trying to understand what it was that I had lost. Very gradually, I understood what optimism really meant, and I started gaining it back. Then I wrote my first book, The Optimist in You, to try and help other human beings recover their lost optimism. After that, people started asking me for help, and I helped them very happily. They recovered their optimism and energy, and then they wanted more. So I went on and trained myself. I certified myself in many different fields, like, for example, mentoring, empathy, life coaching. But I knew I didn't want to be a coach. A coach is a person who works with very specific tools. And if there's something I learned when I worked as a teacher was that you can't use the same tools with every human being. Some human beings need some types of tools. Other human beings need other types of tools. And coaching uses a very specific set of tools. Coaching uses questions like the Socrates method, the Socratic method of questioning and looking into oneself for answers. Mentoring is not coaching, because in mentoring you're guiding people, you're giving them the steps they have to follow. Teaching is not coaching, because you're telling people what to do and what steps to take. I was doing all those things, and that's why I didn't want to call myself a coach. I thought being a coach was somehow limited, and I was doing much more than that. Furthermore, I had already started creating the model of the human being that is now at the basis of humanology. That model of the human being that will be explained, I think, in the next edition of Conversations with Jessica in further detail, explains every human being. It tells us why we behave the way we do, why we react the way we do, and includes 4 basic elements: personal essence, beliefs, the worldview, and personal spheres. Well, as I developed that model of the human being, I realized that coaching was not enough. So what was that I was already offering the world? What was it that I was giving my clients? My husband came up with the word humanology, based on the principle I mentioned before. Humanology is to human beings what psychology is to the mind. That's how the term humanology was created. Once the term was identified, once we understood the word, I started fleshing it up. I started giving it the contents it needed. I created the model of the human being, and I gave it structure, contents, tools, strategies, everything, till today. Today, humanology is a complete discipline that can explain every human being. And that is going to be the focus of this Conversations with Jessica. Humanology helps us in our personal development. It also helps us in our professional development. Humanology is at the basis of every other human activity, because at the end of the day, everything we do is based on human beings. Even robotics are based on human beings. They're created by us. Everything we study, everything we develop, everything we think of, everything we do has to do with human beings. Don't you think it's about time we start understanding and really grasping what human beings mean? Humanology is already being applied in many different fields, like, for example, financial humanology or humanology for couples and relationships. It's also being used to help human beings overcome limitations and understand themselves better so as to take control of their own beings. Humanology is spreading throughout the world. It's already being studied as a certification course, as a training course in places like Mexico, Scotland, here in Switzerland. Oh, I forgot to say, I'm talking to you from Bern, Switzerland. And the training course is already being offered in Spanish and English. As you can see, Humanology has grown very, very much. And it's already helping thousands of human beings all around the world. Isn't it exciting? And now I want to invite you to get to know Humanology better. I want to invite you to discover all the elements of the human being and all the different tools and all the different strategies that can help you take control of your own humanity. So, shall we start? Remember to send me your questions and your comments so I can answer them in future editions of Conversations with Jessica. Today, I'm just going to highlight some of the aspects of Humanology that are most important in our daily evolution. In order to understand how Humanology can help us in our daily lives, we first have to understand human beings. As I said, human beings, all of us, have 4 basic elements that I will very, very briefly mention and explain today. The first of those elements is what we call personal essence. Have you ever wondered why identical twins are so different right upon birth? Why their parents say that they are so different even if they look exactly the same? How can it be that identical twins behave in such different ways if they have the same 0 experience in life and the same genetic mapping? Well, I believe that is because of personal essence. Personal essence is what we are inside of us, our innermost nature, what we are upon birth, that doesn't change throughout our whole life till we die. Is that which makes us unique. It is like our purest being, our essence. That's why we call it the personal essence. And this concept of personal essence is something I bumped into. I happened to discover it almost by coincidence. By chance, I bumped into it when I was being trained as a life coach. And after I discovered it, and I used it with many clients, I realized that it was a very, very powerful concept. Personal essence is what makes us feel unexplainable feelings whenever we meet somebody we never met before and immediately feel very attracted or repelled by that person. You know, those feelings that sometimes overcome us and we can't explain when we meet somebody we are certain we never saw before, and we can't get close to that person because it repels us, or we just feel completely attracted to that person. Well, I think it's because our personal essence either attract one another or repel one another. Personal essence is what makes us be what we are. It's at the basis of the human being and is the only element of human beings that doesn't change in life, is the only immutable part of the human being. It's like our foundations. We have a method to help human beings discover what their personal essence is. This method can only be used together with a humanologist because we haven't yet found the way to help human beings use it on their own. It's a process. It's a 3-step process that has to be followed together with a professional to help the human being discover his or her innermost nature, his or her personal essence. Personal essence is therefore described as a concept. Each person's personal essence is different. Each person's essence is one concept. By concept, we mean exactly that, like an idea.